Hey everyone, and welcome. So we all know the crypto market can feel like a total roller coaster, right? One minute, a coin is going to the moon, the next it's, well, not. So how do you tell the difference between a trend that's got real legs and one that's just a flash in the pan? That's exactly what we're going to break down today. We're going to give you a super simple framework to help you cut right through all that noise.
I mean, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? In crypto, it is so easy to get swept up in all the excitement and momentum. But when that music stops, you definitely don't want to be the one left holding the bag. So the real question is, how do you avoid that?
So, how do you actually spot the difference? How do you know if all the buzz has solid fundamentals behind it, or if it's just pure social media hype? That is the exact question we're going to tackle. We're going to build a really simple mental model to help you become a much more critical thinker in the crypto space.
Okay, let's dive in. Now, just to be super clear, this is not financial advice, okay? Think of this as a tool for your brain. We're calling it the two-sided coin approach. It's simple. On one side, you've got the hype, what everyone is shouting about. And on the other, you've got the data, what the numbers are actually telling us.
So first up, let's take the market's pulse. What's the vibe right now? Well, over the last 48 hours, the mood has been, let's say, cautiously optimistic. Yeah, we saw a little dip, but prices are bouncing back, and the total market cap is sitting above a hefty 4.15 times trillion dollars. A lot of this good feeling is tied to whispers about potential interest rate cuts and maybe some friendlier crypto regulations coming down the pipeline.
Now check this out. This is where we see who's really driving the positive conversation. No surprise, Bitcoin and Ethereum are leading the charge, making up a huge piece of that bullish pie. But look who's right behind them. Solana and XRP. These are kind of your higher risk, but also potentially higher reward plays. And these are going to be the four main players we're analyzing today.
And this table, it's like a quick mood check for the market. I mean, look at those sentiment scores. They are all really high. Bitcoin's leading the pack with an 8.7 out of 10. This tells us the community is feeling overwhelmingly positive. So let's put our new framework to the test and see if the cold hard data actually agrees with all this hype.
All right, let's start with the king, Bitcoin. We're going to apply our two-sided coin approach right here. On one side, we've got the popular story everyone's telling. On the other, we've got the objective data. Let's see how they stack up.
The hype around Bitcoin right now is just undeniable. You hear it everywhere. Big institutions are buying up tons of it. You see chart predictions saying it's going to hit over $120,000. And of course, there's that historically bullish Uptober effect. But the data tells us slightly more cautious story. There's a real risk of money flowing out of those big ETFs, and a key indicator called the RSI suggests the market might be a little overbought. And, seasonal hype can fade.
But then you see this, that institutional accumulation story. It's not just talk. A whopping $2 billion flowed into ETFs in just the last week. Now that is a powerful data-backed signal. So the key takeaway for Bitcoin, yeah, the hype is strong, but it's being backed by some serious institutional cash, which gives this bullish trend a pretty solid foundation.
Okay, let's pivot to our next big player, Ethereum. The big story here, the one everyone's talking about, is the Pectra upgrade. It's promised to make the whole network cheaper and way more efficient. The community is obviously super excited, but is that excitement actually justified when you look at the numbers?
So the popular narrative is that this Pectra upgrade is a total game changer for Ethereum. Some people think it could even help it outperform Bitcoin. But when we look closer at the data, it's a little reminder to be careful. Ethereum has some tough competition, and all this excitement from retail investors, that classic FOMO, could actually be a sign that a price correction is coming.
But again, let's look for the proof in the pudding. This chart shows the real-world impact of that Pectra upgrade. And wow, transaction costs on Ethereum's supporting networks dropped by a massive 40%. See, that's not hype. That's a tangible, real improvement. So the takeaway for Ethereum is that the excitement is definitely rooted in a real, functional upgrade, but its market performance is still going to depend on whether it can win out against its rivals.
Okay, now let's turn our attention to the altcoins, Solana and XRP. These are often the wild cards. They carry more risk, for sure, but also the potential for much bigger rewards. The stories here can be even more powerful, so applying our framework is absolutely essential.
Solana's growth has been pretty incredible. With over $10 billion locked into its ecosystem, that's a huge number. But there are some underlying risks to think about. The network is more centralized than some of its competitors, which basically just means a smaller group of people have more control. And, historically, Solana has struggled a bit during those really volatile market swings. So the key insight here? Solana's massive growth comes with some equally significant technical and structural risks.
Now, XRP's story is fascinating because it's so tangled up in politics and regulations. The bullish case really hangs on a pro-crypto political climate and big partnerships with traditional finance. But the data shows that its biggest risk is, well, the exact same thing. There's a lingering SEC appeal and a heavy reliance on those partners. For XRP, the takeaway is simple. Its fate is uniquely tied to things outside its control, legal outcomes and partnerships, making it a very high-stakes bet.
So, after looking at all these examples, let's bring it all back home to the main point. The goal here wasn't to tell you whether Bitcoin or Solana is a good investment. It was to give you a tool, a framework, that you can use for your own analysis every single time you see a new trend pop up.
So here it is, your simple three-step reality check. First, identify the narrative. What's the popular story that everyone's getting excited about? Second, scrutinize the data. Go find the numbers, the charts, the facts that either prove or disprove that story. And finally, number 3, weigh the risks. What are the objective counterarguments that maybe, just maybe, the hyped-up crowd is ignoring?
So I'll leave you with this one question. The next time a crypto trend is absolutely blowing up, what are you going to look at first? The hype or the data? By using this framework, you can become a much more informed and much more confident crypto analyst. Thanks for sticking with me today.